Welcome to Action Island. We are presented by the FanDuel Sportsbook. I'm your host today, Brendan Glasheen, joined by Action Network analyst Charlie DiSturco, Prop Bomb, and Grant Neefer. We're getting you set for Week 10 Monday Night Football in Buffalo. The 3-5 Denver Broncos, they take on the 5-4 Buffalo Bills. Again, Action Island is presented by our friends at FanDuel. Bet $5 on any money line. Get $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. Plus, all customers get a profit boost every day for new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Denver coming off the bye, riding 2 straight wins, while the Bills, they've dropped 3 of 5 straight up, and they have lost 5 consecutive games against the spread. Right now at FanDuel, Denver is a 7.5-point underdog. Total sits at 47.5. You know the drill. We're 10 weeks in. We'll work our way around the island, present best bets from each of the guys. They'll give 2 bets, and then each guest weighs in, they'll give 2 bets apiece, and then the council will vote on which bet we're going to contribute to the same game parlay. Charlie DiSturco, you're first. What do you got?
Yeah, so everyone seems to be talking about Dalton Kincaid and his connection with Josh Allen, especially after last week's performance. But there's a guy that had 0 receptions last week that I'm targeting, and that's Gabe Davis, over 39.5 receiving yards. Not only is Stephon Diggs, he battled the back injury this week, enters with no injury designation, but he gets the Pat Surtain treatment. And what does that mean? That means that there's going to be plenty of targets to be had. And Gabe Davis is a guy that should take advantage. Denver they're dead last rather in DVOA against the wide receiver 2 position. And it's a great buy low spot on Gabe Davis, who has absolutely dominated at home. Had 9 receptions and 12 targets for 87 yards 2 weeks ago against the Bucs at home. Also has games with 61 yards and 87 in Orchard Park. One game against the Giants, which was a little bit of a drunk game, if you will, where he did not go over this number. But he doesn't need a high volume. He's a deep threat. But we also seen his ability to kind of do damage in the short game with that game against Tampa. So I think this number is far too low. Everyone's talking about Diggs and Kincaid, and no one's really giving love to Gabe Davis. And so here I am, ready to bet is over.
Okay, some confidence in Ken Dorsey to figure it out, but the Gabe Davis roller coaster just keeps going throughout the course of the year. It is. Yeah. It really is. It's been that way for a bit now with Gabe Davis. Mm-hmm. Okay, what's your second one? What do you got?
All right, so this one, I know a lot of us love the running backs here, this matchup for Denver. Javonte Williams over 2.5 receptions. This number's come down a little bit as far as the plus money side, but it still sits there in plus money. Javonte Williams obviously tore his ACL last year, was eased into his RB1 role, and I think that we've finally seen the ceiling that he has and how he's going to be used going forward, right? He's dominating the snap share count, had his season best 63% before the bye, has 3+ receptions in 3 of his last 4 games as well. So we're seeing him take over the lion's share of the snaps. We're seeing him extremely active in the passing game. He obviously isn't the third down back. That's Samaje Perine, but he's usually on first and second downs or third and shorts. So Perine hasn't cracked 25% of snaps since week 5 when Javonte Williams was out. And Jaleel McLaughlin, last 2 weeks that he's played, 17% and 11% of snaps. So higher snap count against Bills team that has a extremely low ADOT, their second lowest ADOT allowed. So that means a lot of tight end usage and running back usage. And let's just list quickly. I'll run down the list of the running backs against this Bills defense. Joe Mixon, 5 receptions. Rashad Wright, 7 receptions. Ramondre Stevenson, 6. Saquon Etienne, 4. A-Chain and Mostert went for 3. Antonio Gibson, 3. Josh Jacobs, 5. Dalvin Cook, when Breece Hall was hurt, or I guess this is his first game back from the ACL injury, 3 receptions. So 3 is an easy number here for me. Love it. I don't know why this is plus money. I think Javonte Williams is going to eat. They've been feeding him the ball, and this is his time to really shine as RB1 in Denver.
Okay, and as we know, I know Denver coming off the bye, but what stood out in that victory against Kansas City, they finally got the ground game going, just using the running backs. I know you talk about receiving yards and receptions here, but 153 yards on 40 carries for the Denver Broncos going into the bye week. Okay, time for a council vote. Myself, Grant, and Prop Bomb. Let's weigh in and pick Charlie's bet. Okay. Sorry, I was adding a little bit to my illustration. What do we got? Let's go. See the Gabe roller coaster. But see how it ends? It's going up. Hit a dip, and now it's working its way up. That's a good thing. Okay. Gabe Davis, over 39.5 receiving yards. Here I am complimenting the Denver running game, but I don't know. I still don't trust Russell Wilson entirely. That's my way. Any Grant, prop bomb? Grant, you first. Anything to add to Charlie's pick on Gabe Davis to finally get involved and maybe catch a ball?
Yeah, I mean, so the main thing is, like, I think Gabe Davis's line is a little bit low right now. I think they're baking into account the weather. It's going to be 10 to 15 miles an hour of sustained winds, gusts of up to 30. Allen is not the same quarterback at home. All is to say that they've accounted for this too much. Surtain's probably going to be shadowing Diggs to an extent. I'm sure they'll scheme to try and get him off of Surtain a little bit because Diggs is pretty heavily involved in this offense no matter what. But Gabe Davis has been doing a lot more short area stuff. I mean, there's foreshadowing to one of my picks soon, but he's been used heavily in the red zone. He's been used more in short area stuff. He's not just the deep threat anymore. I know I had 0 receptions last week, but not going to hold true again this week. It's a different spot. And last time he was in a primetime game, I'm pretty sure he crushed it. So I think that line just a little bit too low. I'm not against the Williams one. Again, the matchup's solid there. The wind probably will force some low A-dot stuff and probably more dump offs to the running back. But Gabe Davis, I'm just a big fan of him, and it's a good spot for him. And even with the weather, I still think he's going to get some lower A-dot passes thrown his way.
Prop bomb, anything to add?
Yeah, for me as well. I think also too, Khalil Shakir, he had 4+ receptions in like 3 straight games, but this isn't the best matchup for him. Right now, the Broncos are allowing the 6th fewest receptions coming out from the slot position where Shakir plays most of the snaps. So I think that actually could affect Gabe Davis, and that may require Josh Allen to look more his way. And we were talking about it, behind the scenes here, but Gabe Davis's route tree just has kind of evolved aside from last year. This year, he's running more shorter routes. They're getting him more involved. He's not just the deep target guy that we all know him of last year. So I think if Surtain's going to be guarding, doing his best that he can to guard Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis gets his looks, and we're going to be buying low here, and I love it.
Okay, Gabe Davis, over 39.5 passing yards. Put it in the Action Island parlay. Prop bomb, you're up next. Present bet number 1, please.
Okay, yes. So we're going to be going with Samaje Perine. So earlier it was 13.5 receiving yards. Now 5:40 p.m. It's 15.5. Still like it there. Perine has pretty much been automatic with this prop. He's averaging 28.9 receiving yards on the season, has 15 or more receiving yards in 7 of the 8 games this season. And although he's losing his running and his rushing shares to Javonte Williams, he still has that clear role as the 3rd down back, as Charlie alluded to earlier. And he's manning 96% of the 2-minute drills, which is going to be really important if the Broncos have the ball in the 2nd and 4th quarter during those times. I like this a lot, too, because with Samaje Perine, the Bills' tackling department, just in general, they just lost Matt Milano. They're without Micah Hyde. Terrell Bernard, another one of their linebackers. I think he's playing, but like he had he's dealing with this whole concussion protocol thing. And you look at as Charlie was saying, you look at the last 3-4 running backs. He talked about the receptions, the receiving yards that they've been having. Ramondre Stevenson, 51 yards. I mean, Rachaad White, 70 yards. Joe Mixon, 31. All these guys are averaging more than 7 yards per reception. And we're just banking, we're just asking for 2 or 3 catches for Samaje Perine. Ideally, hopefully coming in the 2-minute drill, but I like his chances of, getting past that, getting another over on that trend this week.
Okay. And, this time of year, too, he was pretty impactful for the Cincinnati Bengals in the passing game. He actually, against Buffalo last year in the AFC divisional round, had 5 catches on 5 targets for 31 yards. So he has he's been an impactful player and a pain for this Buffalo Bills defense. What is your second bet to present to the council?
So let's go on the other side, going with Dalton Kincaid, 50+ receiving yards. And he's just he's running hot these last 3 games. He's finally getting featured in the offense, just like what he was drafted to do. He's averaging 73 receiving yards in the last 3 games, 75, 65, and 81 last three. So he's gone way over this. And there's no more Dawson Knox. So he's not going to be splitting, running these routes with him. And Josh Allen he's pretty much earned Josh Allen's trust. He's had 23 targets in these last 3 weeks. I'm loving his involvement. And the Broncos, they're allowing the fourth most receiving yards per reception to opposing tight ends, but a lot of that has to do with facing Travis Kelce. I still think that the Broncos, Patrick Surtain is not going to be on him. I think they're 26th in DVOA in the position, and I just think that he's going to keep rolling. I mean, they're finally featuring him, so I love him for 50 plus receiving yards today.
Okay, and his actual receiving line at FanDuel, 54.5. We had Nick Giffen on Green Dot Daily earlier today. He liked the under, but again, you're just asking for 50 or more. All right, very good. Charlie, Grant, let's get to work. Let's see what the council thinks. All right. Take a little longer. Penmanship matters to me. Okay, council. Reveal.
P-Ryan.
A consensus vote. Once again, sorry, my lighting's all messed up. Samaje Perine, over. Charlie, would you like to add as to why you like Perine tonight?
Yeah, well, I'm saying it's a surprise that we're all consensus here, which is usually we're never all on the same side every single time so far. But listen, I'm a bit wary of Kincaid 50 plus just because he has a low ADOT 4.4. So I think he's going to get used, and I would look maybe toward his receptions more so than his yardage. That's kind of why I also lean toward Gabe Davis here. And like Prop Bombs kind of mentioned, I love this matchup for the Denver running backs. I think that we could very well see Javonte get 3, Samaje Perine get 3, even Jaleel McLaughlin get a couple. So I think this is a great matchup, and the Bills defense, they're really not the same Bills defense that was in the first couple weeks because of these injuries. So I think they're very vulnerable. I wouldn't be surprised if Denver gives them a run for their money and they kind of eat in the short game.
All right, Grant, anything to add?
Not really. I mean, Perine's hit this pretty much every single game this season but once. In that game, he missed by the hook at this number. I mean, he's had 15 plus in every single game. He's had 2 plus receptions in every single game, plus matchup, plus game script. Everything points this way. I mean, Kincaid's fine, but I'm more on Gabe Davis, and I'm more on the under for Josh Allen passing yards overall. So, I mean, I think a lot of guys are going to get shut down in this Bills offense outside of Gabe Davis. And I think that the running backs in the receiving game for the Broncos are going to thrive here. So it's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, and like you said, that Josh Allen passing yards prop has dipped quite a bit over the course of the afternoon into the evening. It's hovering in that high 270 range. Now it's in the high 260s. So perhaps that's an impact in just the Buffalo passing game entirely. All right, very good. So we're on Gabe Davis over receiving yards from Charlie. Prop bomb. We're going with the Perine over in the receiving department. Grant, take us home. Present bet number 1, please.
All right, so the first bet, here's the foreshadowing. Gabe Davis, anytime touchdown score, plus 220. Oh. Davis has been really solid in the red zone so far this season. Diggs is the only one with more targets than him so far in the red zone. Diggs has 14. Gabe Davis has 11. We think of him as a long, deep threat pretty much every single time just because of last year. But I mean, we go back to 2021. He had 16 targets in the red zone, which is 3rd on the team. Knox having 22 is going to be a difference maker here. No Knox. I know Kincaid's kind of taken over that role, and Kincaid's been really solid. And he actually has 8 on the season, but it's still going to be Gabe Davis a decent amount. Plus, he hasn't had that long touchdown so far. All 5 of his touchdowns so far this season have been in the red zone. And we look at his career numbers. If you include playoffs, he's actually averaging, I think, over 0.5 touchdowns per game over the course of his entire career. We're getting this at plus 220 here in a game that the Bills should put up a decent amount of points. They haven't put up a ton of points so far this season outside of that Miami game. So this should be a game where they are going to score probably 3 touchdowns, maybe 4. And it's a spot where Gabe Davis just isn't getting the odds he really should. I mean, I have this line like the true line at about plus 170 here. So I don't really understand the 220 odds. I'm rolling with it. I'm taking the advantage.
Right. Excellent. Yep. Plus 220 still the number as we chat here on Action Island. You can find it over at FanDuel. And what's your second one for the council?
So the second one is James Cook under 2.5 receptions. He's hit this in hit the over in 5 out of 9 games. But we look at those games individually. In losses, he's hit the over in pretty much every single game. He has hit the over in every single game this season. In wins, he's only 1 for 5. Like, he's not the same running back in the receiving game. When they're ahead, they're just going to run with him. They'll throw some Murray in there. But when they're trailing, they throw the ball to him a lot. I don't expect to see them trailing here. I mean, this line is starting to move. It was at 7 not too long ago. Now it's as high as 8 in some spots. Like, it's moving up. And I mean, I get that's probably people thinking that the Broncos are absolutely terrible, which they were early in the season. They've gotten better. I still think this will be a more competitive game, but they've been involved in several very competitive games where Cook has still hit the under. I mean, the last 2 wins they had, Tampa Bay and the Giants, 24-18, 14-9. Both those games, Cook had 1 total target between the 2 of them. So anytime that there's a positive game script or positive for running for James Cook, and they're probably going to win, I tend to lean more towards his under at this number because it's pretty much coming out of this every single week. So if it's going to be a close game, or they might potentially lose, I go with the over. If they're going to probably win, and if they're over a 7-point favorite, I really like the under. So this is just a perfect spot for them.
So yeah, game script wise, you're looking for Buffalo to get out to a lead, essentially. And then if if there's a cover situation for Denver, it's a backdoor at the end of the game.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. All right, Charlie, prop bomb. Let's get a council vote on Grant's picks. Okay. Let's see if we go consensus again. Reveal. The night of Gabe. Charlie's on it. Oh! Prop, but we have a disagreement. Well, why don't you go first then, Prop Bomb? Under on James Cook. Why would you prefer this one over the Davis touchdown?
Yeah, the only thing that I'm seeing with I'm just kind of afraid to take Buffalo Bills touchdown scores. And I say this because Grant kind of said it earlier. They've been their defense has kind of been trending upwards, especially over the last 3 weeks. They are, I'm looking at teamrankings.com right now. Opponent red zone defense, the Denver Broncos, they are tied for the second best in terms of red zone conversion percentages. They had a 50% red zone conversion, and then last 3 games, 27%. So I'm really kind of a believer on Sean Payton's kind of turning things around. Their defense, they get Simmons back. And there's always that, that threat of Josh Allen running it in, so I just didn't want to touch that. If we're on Gabe Davis, obviously I'd love if he scores a touchdown. So if there's any guy I want him to score a touchdown, it's him. But as far as the James Cook one, yeah, he pretty much said it best. It's if they're in a winning game script, I really don't see a need for him having to feature him in the receiving role, James Cook. And there's also Latavius Murray as a threat in the 2-minute drill to take away some of those catches.
I think we'd be lying, Charlie, if we weren't a little concerned that there's a lot of Gabe Davis love on this show.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
Charlie's on him. Charlie likes the over in the receiving department. So does that correlate with him scoring?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it doesn't necessarily correlate, but I just think that this is a great matchup for him to exploit the Broncos. They're abysmal against the wide receiver 2 position. And with Pat Surtain most likely in every big moment going to be on Stephon Diggs, then Allen's either going to have to punch it in, or it's probably going to go to, Kincaid or Davis. I think this number is way too far, as Grant said. And just that I'm a bit nervous with this James Cook one, only because I think a lot of people are expecting the Bills to dominate, and I'm, and the line obviously moved from 7 to 8 over the course of the day, or 7.5, 8. But I don't know, the Denver's been playing a little bit better of late. I think this could be a higher scoring game, a little bit closer than we thought. So that just out of my personal belief, that's why I'm kind of leaning toward Gabe Davis, because I think that this is a sneaky game where we could see a lot of points. And I just James Cook is the receiving back here for them. And Lat Murray, I think Leonard Fournette tweeted out that he might be returning, which means Lat Murray might just be sent to the gulag or wherever he's going. So I lean toward Gabe Davis here over Cook, and plus it just kind of plus money helps our parlay out a little bit.
All right. So the Action Island parlay for week 10, Monday Night Football, has been built. Gabe Davis over receiving, P. Ryan over receiving. And sorry, Prop Bomb. Gabe Davis, the love continues.
Right. Man, he's going to score it. Yeah, we're doing good.
Gabe Davis touchdown. Okay, before we get to our recap, we need a market report. Let's go to Darren Ravel for the latest.
Thanks, Brendan. Yes, it is a great Monday Night Football to bet. And at FanDuel, the top bet props are not surprising. Dalton Kincaid to score anytime touchdown plus 185. Dalton Kincaid over 54.5 receiving yards minus 110. And Stefon Diggs to score first touchdown plus 600. So it's all loaded up on that side. And again, no surprises, pretty much the standards across the board.
Okay, Darren, thank you very much. Again, that number has moved to up to 7.5, some 8s out in the market for tonight. Denver as a dog visiting Buffalo. Once again, the final, our council recap for week 10 Monday Night Football Action Island, our parlay. Gabe Davis over 39.5 receiving yards. Samaje Perine over 14.5. We also gave out 15.5. That's where it moved at its latest. Over receiving yards. And Gabe Davis, anytime touchdown. The parlay payout plus 614. I'll throw in a bonus bet. I want your thoughts. We didn't discuss Stefon Diggs. Charlie did a little bit to give credence to his pick on Gabe Davis. On the other side, how about Courtland Sutton? Over 3.5 receptions. This is slightly juiced to the over. Sutton in games this year, there have been 3 instances this year where Denver has been a 7-point underdog or more. He's hit that in 2 of 3. Suspecting a trailing game script, Russell Wilson will go his way. You consider also the injury concerns with this Buffalo secondary. They're banged up at safety. This just seems too low. I keep it simple. Courtland Sutton over 3.5 receptions tonight. Charlie, what do you think?
I mean, in a losing game script, if this plays out as the line indicates, I like the receptions here more than the receiving yards, just because Buffalo in general gives up a really low ADOT. And I think that Sutton really hasn't been as dominant of a long threat. I mean, that's kind of Jerry Jeudy's part. So I think that I would target his receptions. I think he'll probably hover around that 3 to 4 mark. So if in a losing game script, if they're down, I don't mind it. So I would go receptions over receiving yards. So I like your thought there.
Okay. Grant, Prop Bomb, anything to add?
I like it. I mean, again, Wynn probably going to be lower ADOT throws. Sutton should thrive in that. Line's a little bit too low. I almost end up hitting it. So I'm right there with you.
Okay.
Yeah, keep it short. Same thing. Yeah, I think he has the lowest ADOT of all Broncos receivers. So that plays into your hands right perfectly. If it's a trailing game script, I think that's his favorite guy to throw to. So 4+ catches should be pretty achievable.
I know we did an Action Island weeks ago featuring Sutton, and I remember Nick Giffen was on the show and he gave out the 4+ line was actually a better number, a better price than just playing the over 3.5. Not the case tonight. I think that they caught on to us here on this show. So yeah, we'll go with the Sutton over receptions. If you throw that in the parlay for Action Island parlay, jumps to plus 1164. Okay.
Nice.
I think we're covered. That is going to do it for this week's edition of Monday Night Football Action Island. Make sure you comment below or tag Action Network HQ with your parlay tonight when you track it in the app. And also tune in to Bet What Happens Live. We will have a program tonight. Grant, are you jumping on that show tonight?
I am not. I've been sick for the last 4 days, and I have a little baby that's sick. So this one's a little bit less talking, and I need to get some sleep.
Fair enough. Okay, well, you can find Nick Giffen with his analysis for Bet What Happens Live tonight on Action Network, YouTube, and live in the Action Network app. For Charlie Disturco, Grant Neefer, and Prop Bomb, Brendan Glasheen, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Action Island, presented by FanDuel. Good luck tonight, and we'll join you next time.
Broncos country, let's ride.
Okay.